Hey guys, and welcome to the Igloo. And today we have some new information when it comes to the Cybertruck, especially if you don't really follow into the Cybertruck news. Yesterday, Elon did a interview with Joe Rogan, and it seems like there has been some confirmations when it comes to the Cybertruck. So far, we already know that the 8,000 ton press is going to be something that we're going to be equate to for the Cybertruck and trying to accommodate for a lot of things. The other thing that has been a confirmation is the reduced size of the Cybertruck is about approximately 3 inches, so it still has a main majority of the shape. I hope that it doesn't reduce the bed size. I mean, personally, I would like to have a 8.5 foot bed for commercial purposes because I kind of want to use that and then like my own robotics in order to do my own inventions. But that's beside the case. There's also, when he was talking to Joe Rogan as well, that the other thing, instead of 15 miles because of the cover, it'd be more on the lines of like 10 miles that you would get per day if he does make solar panels. So, I mean, that's a little upsetting for me because I would be like, I would like to have that just because it would actually like maintain the sentry mode when you're out and about, especially if you're outside. And I'm just like, oh, come on. I really wanted to have that, especially if like they team up with like a company like Solar Windows or something in those regards. I mean, they're still in the development stage, but that's here or there. But when it comes to having the Cybertruck, I mean, the other thing that I would really like to have is if the Model S little back like monitor that you have. I mean, it reminds me a lot of when I was a kid. My dad used to have just this little 4x3 TV, and we would just play Mario Kart and Nintendo 64 games, and somehow we played Super Smash 64 on that as well. So, I mean, if that comes to the Cybertruck as well, just as like you pop up the middle seat for the extended cab for that kind of setup and you just have it for that, that would be really great. But that's more of a personal preference than anything. It would still be nice. But one of the other things that I do see as an advantage, and especially for people that don't understand why you need to have a 8,000 ton single piece casting in the rear. So this is not like a C10 truck, right? So a lot of people are getting the mentality process of, oh yeah, we're just going to have a truck with a bed. No. So there's a lot of things that happen, especially with the deadly wobble of what you would get for a regular C10 truck. And also, it doesn't have the same type of reinforcement as a regular frame does because you don't want it to buckle, bend, or do any of the shape. I've seen so many trucks just be like cockeyed and they cannot repair it because they bent the frame. Well, you can't really have a structural battery bend because if the battery bends, then what's the point? You would be pretty much compromised the vehicle already, and you would have probably overbared most of the vehicle. That's why Elon has designed the bed to hold 3,500 pounds of weight so that such thing does not happen. Because one thing that you want to know is that you're going to just want to throw everything at this truck just like you do with any other truck and see the limitations. One of the biggest limitations that you see with F-150 trucks, especially nowadays, is having an aluminum bed, which is just going to dent for whatever you drop, throw, or do anything in. And I've known that because of when I was in lawn care, we quite literally did that, except for it had very heavy salts in the rear. So having a casting underneath the bed will not only improve a few different things, but also point out a few different advantages that people don't realize. One of the biggest advantages is having a fifth wheel. Now, if they designed it properly to match and link the bed of the vehicle with also the back casting where the wheels are, The biggest advantage is having superior fifth wheel support because you have a single piece casting, and then right above it is the bed of the vehicle. Now, if they're able to have access to like the fifth, not the fifth wheel, but like a piece that would be just underneath the cover for the fifth wheel, it would bring out many structural integrity advantages because it'll link not only the exoskeleton, but it'll also have the structural battery with the casting, providing so much stiffness when it comes to holding that weight of that fifth wheel. Now, personally, I would like to have a fifth wheel house, like a little tiny house. It is from a Canadian company, and it's one of like my little things that I would like to have. It's just having that amount of space, like a 2-bedroom kind of setup while I'd be going around the country. But that's one of the things that I would like to benefit from if there is a fifth wheel compatibility with the Cybertruck. But again, I'm not getting the trailer specifically for fifth wheel for the Cybertruck until like I know everything about up and coming products and also placements for the Cybertruck so that I don't like need to do something. I mean, I might even have to modify it myself, but again, it would be a very strong indicator that there would be a fifth wheel advantage for the Cybertruck, especially when you have the bed. Another thing that I still haven't seen, and it was confirmed during the Joe Rogan show, is that it has almost very little changes that we would be seeing. So the steering wheel is going to be something that you're going to have the yoke steering wheel. So the same steering wheel pretty much that was debuted on the Cybertruck will be debuted later on when it does come out with the yoke. So that means we're going to have touchscreen indicators for left and right, hazards, and your volume up and down. But I'm still hesitant when it comes to that, especially in the construction field and especially in any kind of heavy labor field. You always think that everything's going to be broken, especially if you have very compromised employees that don't really value the company or the products. All it takes is that one rage moment, and then next you know, the screen's broken or something like that. And it's not going to be something that would be pretty. So you always have to think of, in those regards, if you're a business person, how much is it going to affect your bottom line if you're going to be using this? Now, don't get me wrong. Using a Cybertruck will have many advantages when it comes to fuel savings, making sure that we avoid a lot of the problems that we have, especially if you are hauling a lot over and over again, like what I was doing before in the fertilization industry, where we were having 200 gallons of just liquid weed killer, and then the rest would be in that regard as just fertilizer in bags for dry agents. So how would that be able to maintain properties that you can still withstand for? Would the employee still be able to plug in the vehicle? Would you still have that same kind of infrastructure when you're going to be charging? I mean, most commercial buildings have 3-phase electricity, so it wouldn't be predominantly the problem. What it does come to the problem as mainly as maintenance, like especially for different categories of let's say you need to have a specific tire for what you're doing, because again, most people aren't going to be using mountain tires when it comes to commercial properties, or most people want to be able to fix their vehicle. Again, going back to the screen and also the yoke inside the interior. One of the biggest things that could concern me, but could be addressed as soon as I would see the new Plaid Tesla Model S, is the automatic drive and reverse feature that has been presented with the Tesla Model S. If you're inside a garage, especially a warehouse garage, what would it think as the indicator for the forward and reverse function? And this also goes secondly for what they are going to be having, which is something for Tesla themselves as their solar department, and also for maybe their maintenance vehicles or something like that, which they already do have for the Model S's and also older Model S's that they already have, and they reuse and recycle from a used department. Like, what can you do inside a warehouse versus something like that? Because I know specifically when I was in Solar City before it was acquired by Tesla, that none of the vehicles besides a forklift and a box truck were mainly in those facilities inside the warehouse areas, in order to transport goods. So it goes down to, are we going to be using Cybertrucks now? Are we going to be having a converted Cybertruck box truck with also the crew cab? Will it have a trailer? I mean, I would like to have more people use the Cybertruck as kind of like a selling point in that kind of regard, especially when it can be able to just hook up and be as a generator, because not in my position, because I was a surveyor in that regard, but mainly as the PV installer crew. Maybe they could use that kind of generator, maybe for specific lighting fixtures or something like that, in case they lose power for some of their equipment. It could also provide different advantages in that way, but most of the time they don't use a generator system or anything like that, because again, they're just installing photovoltaics, and more of their property is going towards like having third-party installers that are specialized in roofing in order for that. But again, it would seem as an interesting dynamic to use Cybertrucks anyway for their own purposes as well, for just service in general altogether as a vehicle. But just as one of my friends, Patrick, because he's still working at Tesla, one of the people that I trained almost 6 years ago now. Was it 6 years ago? Yeah, 6 years ago now. He uses drones and he has a Sprinter van. So something that I also seen from the Joe Rogan experience is that he wants to make a van with solar panels on top. That would be one of the biggest benefits when it comes to buying Sprinter vans themselves from like other OEMs, because then you would be able to keep everything in house. But you also have to think of, do they have a home versus do they have apartments? Because how I use my like Tesla is that when I charge it when I'm at home, especially I've been more at home now because I'm type 1 diabetic and I almost went into diabetic shock. I actually found out during these 2 weeks between my last video and this video, and it was not good, but that's beside the point. I literally recharge my vehicle from an extension cord outside the window. Not everybody's going to have that privilege because their apartment complex might vary, and some of these workers from Tesla might not have that advantage when it comes to charging their EV, especially right now in 2020 with COVID and everything else happening. Would be very cautious about that. So again, if you guys like this kind of content and just letting me just like figure out the news and see on how the Cybertruck would be and fitting in my life that might reflect yours, it might be pretty good for you guys. If you guys like this, give guys leave a comment for how your lifestyle is and how it could fit the Cybertruck, and have a good one, guys.